What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Here for another review of Spartacus, Blood and Sand. This is episode 4. I believe it's entitled The Thing in the Pit. And so, yeah, we're talking about Spartacus going to the pit. So before we do that, guys, we got to give a score. Scoring system on this channel is 0 to 5. 0 being trash and 5 being a masterpiece. I gave this one a 3. I thought this was a solid episode. Quite a little bit of a step down from the previous episode, but still a good episode. 3 out of 5. Not bad at all. So with the score out of the way, let's waste no more time, my good people, and let's get into it. So like I said, this is a Spartacus heavy episode, and you could also say a Badiatus heavy episode. But we are in the pits of hell on earth, man. The pits, man, they run on the same philosophy as the Thunderdome.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
You know, to the death. They refer to them mongrel versus mongrel. That's how they refer to the combatants in there. You are a mongrel. We got 2 mongrels in here, and they fight to the death. So crazy. But of course, before we get into pits, because it's Spartacus and Kaza, you know, they both are going to the pits, and he's hyping himself up. It's this false bravado. He's like, I'm gonna show them. I'm not gonna die in the pits. And they clicked and they showed the flash forward, and my man's getting his brains rocked. And he ends up literally having his face taken off.
His face.
Ugh. Rest in peace to him, man. Rest in peace to him. But Spartacus fares a little better. You know, his first fight, you know, he's fighting a guy who has a ball and chain, and Spartacus has spiked knuckles. And, you know, Spartacus is getting his ass kicked a little bit, but he turns the tide and ends up winning. Wins a little bit of coin for Badiatus. And that's very important in this episode, because Badiatus is feeling the weight of his debts. Because you remember in the previous episodes, the grain guy was pressing him like, hey, man, you know, Badiatus, you owe me some money. And Badiatus pushed it back, got an extension. But with that extension, you still got to pay the VIG, you know, the interest. The shit is compiling. And so he gets pressed again, but more of this guy is had enough. And you can tell that, you know, Badiatus didn't have his money. Okay, I'm about to get that shit in blood. You know, that's the mentality I took from that guy. Once he said, you know, Badiatus started giving another excuse, and then Badiatus, and that's the thing. How the fuck are you gonna owe somebody some money and have the nerve to be all aggressive, acting like Badiatus, like, oh, if you do this to me again, it's gonna be a problem, as if he's gonna do it. You know, that's why he had Barker with him. You know, and so I'm like, the audacity. I'm gonna ask y'all a question. Have you ever loaned somebody some money and then they had the nerve to come at you like that and being disrespectful? It's like, I gave you money and you motherfucker being disrespectful to me. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But you know, they get a little windfall because, you know, Lucretia is out here on the streets trying to sell jewelry. And she gets all pissed, but the guy made a good point. He's like, this is used. You know, this shit is half off. It's used at best. I'm doing you a favor. And then, of course, slithering down the street like a sidewinder snake, here comes Salonius. This dude comes in, oh, you know, I could buy that for you. I'll pay full price. And Lucretia's like, and knowing damn well ain't no broads checking for him. Lucretia's like, well, what female you buying that for? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna give this to the woman in front of me. Now, say whatever you will about Lucretia and Badiatus. Yes, they are both very evil people, but they got a tight bond, man. I mean, they walking shoulder to shoulder like Mulder and Scully. I mean, they're that tight. They're that tight. You know, nothing's coming between them. And instead of taking that full price, she could have entertained that. She took the half price because she didn't want to disrespect her man like that. So respect to her for that. Like I said, you can say whatever you want about these two, but you cannot deny these two love each other. You can't deny that. And she showed it right there, you know, because she could have took the extra money, but she said, no, I'm not going to disrespect my husband like that. And she took the half offer because she know that's her husband's op. And I love that. I'm that way with my friends. Look, my tight circle of friends, whoever is at their enemy, that's my enemy. Whoever my wife's enemy is, that's my enemy. That's how it should be. So salute to Lucretia. But Spartacus, he continues fighting in the pits. He becomes victorious. But the thing about it is I like about what they did with this episode was we start to see the emotional toll that this is taking from him. We actually get into Spartacus's head. We see visions of Sura. Hey, when you got to hurry, this or that and the other. She tells him, you got to get to me before the rains come. So now you know why he was pressing so hard, because we just got a taste of what's going on in his head. That's probably what's in his mind all this time, ever since they've been separated. And so that's kind of influenced his ideas and his actions, and that some of those actions, of course, backfired. That's why he's in the pit. And so, yeah, and then also something we see is um his feelings of disgust of what he's become and what he's doing, you know. A conflict of the man he was outside Badiatus, and conflicting with his situation where he is now. Because though he's disgusted at some of the stuff, we also see he's starting to like it. If you notice the scene, there's a part where he's smart. He's hearing his name ring out. He's liking that fact. He's loving it. He's liking it. He's loving it. Also, after one of his victories, we see him start to celebrate. He puts the hands in the air and he turns to the crowd. He gets a vision of Sura, and he immediately, stops celebrating. So he's got a little bit of turmoil going on in him. So we get to his last match, and he basically comes to the conclusion. He tells Badiatus, look, um, put everything you have against me, because it's a smart bet, because he's been winning. Naturally, people are going to bet more for him than they did in the beginning, where he was a huge underdog. He said, bet it all against me. And he says, promise me you'll find Sura. Use those winnings to get Sura. Badias goes, say less. Hey, just make that shit interesting. Basically, I don't want him to know that it's, we're colluding together. And so things are somewhat going to plan when Spartacus looks in the crowd, and he sees them boys coming. The grain man, he sent some goons after Badiatus, and there's a fight in the crowd between Barca, his goons. Badiatus gets cut. Spartacus has to renege on the deal, because if he dies and Badiatus dies, well, that's a no-go for Sura. So he ends up killing one of the attackers, saves Badiatus. The two men come together. They find common ground, because, Badiatus is like, you cost me a lot of money. He's like, well, but you're alive. And he's like, why did you do it? He's like, basically for Sura, like I explained, if they both die, she's fucked. And so one thing I wish the episode would have did was, I wish there would have been a moment when Enemaeus sat down and talked with Spartacus about the pit, like before he went there, because that's where Enemaeus was discovered, was in the pit. Now I'm trying to think. The problem with that might be Gods of the Arena was not originally a thing. No, we saw that clip in Vengeance. So they should have known. I think that was just a missed opportunity by them. That would have been a great development and a way for them to bond a little bit more with that experience. He's sharing the knowledge of the pits and just his experience. I thought that would have been a great tool. Just to wrap this up, also some other things we got. We saw Barca ramrodding Petrus. I mean, that shit always catches me off guard, but they love their sex, man. They love their sex. We got the more development into Crixus and Navia. Crixus actually made a move on her. He gave her that kiss. She liked it though. She liked it though. So we got more development in that and their relationship. Of course, we know where that relationship leads to, but we're definitely taking more steps towards that. But all in all, guys, I thought this was a good episode. Yeah, so guys, I will see you in the next one. Guys, take it easy. And like I always say before I get out of here, is guys, if it's for 1 minute, 5 minutes of the whole damn video, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to view my content. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe, smash the like, get in the comments, hype the video if it's available. And guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.